The PlayStation 2 was released on March 4, 2000 in Japan, making it Sony's second home console. The first one, of course, was PlayStation 1. It is the best-selling video game console of all time, with over 160 million units sold worldwide. The PS2 was the first console to use DVDs as its primary storage medium. The best-selling PS2 game was Grand Theft Auto: San Andreas, with 17.33 million copies sold. The second best-selling PS2 game was Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec, with 14.83 million copies sold. The third best-selling PS2 game was Grand Theft Auto: Vice City, with 14.2 million copies sold. The two most popular early titles were Ridge Racer V and Tekken Tag Tournament. The Spider-Man 2 game is regarded as one of the best Spider-Man games of all time.
Pizza time.
The Superman Returns game is regarded as one of the worst superhero games of all time. Manhunt is a 2003 stealth game developed by Rockstar North and published by Rockstar Games. It was the subject of numerous controversies due to the extreme graphic violence depicted in its scenes. The game was banned in Australia and allegedly inspired a teenager to commit murder. The 2002 game State of Emergency sparked controversy due to its depiction of gun violence, political assassinations, and state coups. Additionally, it faced criticism in Washington for its perceived similarities to the World Trade Organization riots in Seattle. Gun, a 2005 game, featured offensive portrayals of Native Americans, leading the Association for American Indian Development to call for a boycott against it. Due to its title, Bully was perceived by some as a game that glorified bullying. Additionally, controversy arose over the fact that the main character, Jimmy, could engage in same-sex relationships. The success of the PS2 at the end of 2000 created both financial and competitive challenges for Sega, leading the company to announce the discontinuation of the Dreamcast in March 2001. Just 18 months after its successful launch in Western markets, the PS2 remained the only sixth-generation console for over 6 months before it faced competition from new rivals, Nintendo's GameCube and Microsoft's Xbox. While the PlayStation 2 theoretically had the weakest hardware of its competitors GameCube and Xbox, the PS2 had a head start due to its installed player base, plus strong developer commitment, as well as a built-in DVD player. The PlayStation 2's initial game lineup was seen as mediocre, with a shortage of high-quality titles that fell short of expectations for its hardware capabilities, partly due to its complex architecture, which made development challenging. Unlike Sega's Dreamcast, Sony originally placed little emphasis on online gaming during its first few years, although that changed upon the launch of the online-capable Xbox. The PS2 is distinguished by two main designs: the original Fat model and the more compact Slimline version, which was introduced in late 2004. A total of over 4,000 game titles were released worldwide, with over 1.527 billion copies sold. The PS2 was the first console to feature games with full voice acting such as Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. The PS2 was backward compatible with almost all PlayStation 1 games. The Emotion Engine was the central processing unit specifically developed for the PlayStation 2 by Sony in collaboration with Toshiba. The Emotion Engine was one of the main reasons why the PS2 was so powerful for its era, enabling impressive graphics in games with vast open worlds such as Grand Theft Auto: San Andreas and Shadow of the Colossus. Its advanced architecture and integration with the graphics synthesizer allowed the PS2 to push the boundaries of what was possible in gaming, setting a new standard for console performance. Final Fantasy X was the first game in the series to feature voice acting in fully 3D environments. The PS2 introduced the Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper franchises. God of War debuted on the PS2 and became one of Sony's flagship franchises. Final Fantasy XI was the first MMORPG on a console and required the PS2 HDD. The PS2's online service was free, unlike Xbox Live. Sony released a Linux kit for the PS2, allowing users to turn the console into a computer. The PS2's online community was relatively small compared to Xbox Live. In 2000, several media outlets, most notably the far-right news aggregator WorldNet Daily, reported that Saddam Hussein, then the president of Iraq, had allegedly stockpiled around 4,000 PlayStation 2 consoles. According to the rumors, Hussein and his military intended to somehow link these consoles together to create a makeshift supercomputer capable of handling advanced military applications. However, the specifics of how this would be achieved were never clearly explained by those promoting the conspiracy theory. As expected, the story was later debunked and proven to be false. The PS2's library included many games that were never released outside Japan. Some examples are Tales of Rebirth, Shin Megami Tensei 3, Nocturne Maniacs, and Front Mission 5 Scars of the War. The last PS2 game was Pro Evolution Soccer 2014, released in 2014. The PS2 has many accessories for musical games, such as dance pads for Dance Dance Revolution, In the Groove, and High School Musical 3 Senior Dance, and various guitar controllers for the Guitar Freak series and Guitar Hero series. The PS2 featured the Thrustmaster Fighting Arena, an innovative accessory that allowed players to physically engage in combat by translating their real-time movements into the game. This motion-sensing stand tracked the player's body movements, providing a more immersive and interactive fighting experience. It was designed to enhance gameplay by allowing players to perform punches, kicks, and other moves through their own actions, offering a unique alternative to traditional controllers. Silent Hill 2 is regarded as one of the best horror games on the PlayStation 2. In 2024, Konami released a highly anticipated remake, bringing the game to modern audiences with updated graphics, gameplay enhancements, and a renewed focus on its psychological horror elements. Several PlayStation 2 commercials were directed by David Lynch, known for his surreal and unsettling storytelling. His unique style brought a dreamlike and eerie atmosphere to the ads, making them stand out from typical video game marketing. One of the most famous is The Third Place from 2000, which featured bizarre imagery, cryptic dialogue, and a haunting tone, perfectly capturing the mysterious and innovative spirit of the PS2 era. When you turn on the PS2, you can see a series of white towers or cubes appearing on the screen. The way the images are organized may seem like something completely random, but this is a misconception. What actually determines how many structures appear is the number of saved games on the memory card. Therefore, if you insert a memory card with no saved games, the animation won't appear. Atari created the prototype for the Falcon 030 microbox in 1993, but decided to abandon the project in favor of focusing on the Jaguar concept. Years later, Sony used the Falcon as inspiration for the design of the PlayStation 2. Dan Holmes was enjoying his new video game console so much that he jokingly mentioned marrying it. His friends thought it was just a playful remark, but he even sought out a clergyman who would be willing to officiate the ceremony to prove how serious he was. However, after discovering that a marriage between a man and a console wasn't possible, he decided to simply change his name to PlayStation 2 to demonstrate the depth and sincerity of his love for it. Teyu Goto, the designer of the original PlayStation controller, assigned specific meanings and colors to each button symbol to enhance user experience. He explained that the triangle represents a viewpoint or direction, symbolizing one's head, and is colored green. The square denotes a piece of paper representing menus or documents and is colored pink. The circle and cross signify yes and no decisions, colored red and blue respectively. This thoughtful design aimed to intuitively guide players through gameplay and system navigation. In Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, the boss known as The End, was so elderly that if players took too long during the fight, he would die from age-related issues. Clever players figured out that by adjusting the PlayStation 2's clock, they could fast-forward the in-game time by a week and find the old man's lifeless body. The PlayStation 2 was one of the first consoles designed to operate both horizontally and vertically, providing greater flexibility in players' space arrangements. The EyeToy, released in 2003 for the PlayStation 2, was a groundbreaking USB camera that allowed players to control games using their body movements instead of a traditional controller. It introduced motion-based gaming years before the rise of technologies like the PlayStation Move and Kinect.